If you've ever thought about making one of my projects and haven't yet, I really hope this will be your first one. There are very few people who haven't been affected by cancer in one way or another. My family and I personally have been affected very deeply. Every year at this time, Mark over at the Wood Whisperer raises money through Woodworkers Fighting Cancer. This year we're combining our forces and our audiences to build as many of these as possible to help raise money to fight cancer. The charity Mark has chosen this year is Cancer Care, who helps people with their day-to-day needs as they're struggling with cancer. Now here's how you can get involved. All you gotta do is build one of these easels and send Mark a picture by December 9th. And for every picture we get, Mark is gonna donate $5 to Cancer Care. And I'm gonna donate $5 to Cancer Care. So that's 10 bucks we're sending to Cancer Care for every single one of these built. Mark has also lined up corporate sponsors who are also kicking in for every one of these built. And finally, since this easel is a little bit too short for my young artist who will be turning 17 pretty soon, I decided to auction this one off, and I hope you bid on it. 100% of those proceeds are gonna go directly to Cancer Care. Now, as for the easel itself, there are a couple different options. Wood Magazine has generously donated plans that you can download to build Mark's version. My version is very similar, only simplified for people who might not have a lot of tools or a lot of experience. I've got free plans of my version down in the description. But maybe you can combine elements from both and make your own version. It would be really fun to see what you come up with. Both versions feature a chalkboard on one side. Rather than a whiteboard on the other side, my version has a metal panel that kids can stick things to with magnets. And if you need to store this, it's got hinges up here and this part lifts off and folds together. I picked up these 1x3s at the home center for under $4 a piece. They're actually 2.5 inches wide. I'll start by cutting the 4 legs to size using my miter saw. To make sure that these are all exactly the same length, I like to line up one side, squish them all together, and then just square off all of these ends. There are, of course, a lot of different ways you could join all of these boards together. I'm gonna use pocket screws and this pocket hole jig. It's a really strong joint and these are super simple to use, almost foolproof. The panels are going to be square, so this lower rail is going to go down the same length as one of these rails. I can use that as a guide. Now I can just do that on the other side. That spacer worked out really well on that one, so I just cut another blank so I can use it on this one. I'm going to use my router to make an inset where I could drop the panels into each of these. If you don't have a router, you could just cut your panels and screw them directly on here. I'm going to use this rabbiting bit, but I have to replace the base in my router because this hole is too small for the bit. I made this one a long time ago and it works out fine. With this frame clamped to my workbench, I'll just route out the inside. That gives me this lip all the way around. This is a 2-foot by 4-foot chalkboard that you can get at the home center. I did not know such magic existed. One of these boards is about the same cost as a quart of chalkboard paint, and this seems a lot easier to use. I designed these panels to be 24 inches by 24 inches, so I only have to make one cut. Since the corners of these rabbets are curved, I need to cut off a little bit on these. I'm gonna glue this in with wood glue. I picked up this 2-foot by 3-foot piece of galvanized sheet metal in the plumbing department. So I can use the other half of my chalkboard as a backer board. This stuff's really thin, you can cut it with scissors. I'm gonna attach that metal with carpet tape. I'm going to attach this using silicone caulking. You could also use contact cement or epoxy. And if there were any sharp edges on that metal, it's concealed in this ledge. Well, good morning. It looks like the silicone did a good job on that panel. So now I've got both of these and I can get started on the tray. This gets assembled the same way as the legs. I'm gonna start by just making a square. I'm gonna hold this together temporarily with some clamps that'll help keep it square while I put the screws in. I cut 2 scraps 4 inches long to use as spacer blocks. To put the hinges on, I flip these both over and I'm just gonna match up the tops. I'll line up these 2-inch strap hinges right along that seam. I'm gonna tape them down so they don't move. For the bottoms of these trays, I just cut out some strips of scrap plywood. I'm just gonna glue it and nail it right on. I drilled some shallow holes into these little wooden balls I got at the craft store. I'm gonna use some epoxy to glue these rare earth magnets into those holes. I'm sanding everything down nice and smooth, mainly to ease over any sharp corners and edges. So I'm gonna line this up so that the bottom of the tray lines up with the bottom of the panel. I just wanna mark it on one of these. I'm going to make that mark on all of these legs. I'm drilling a 3/8 inch hole into each of these. I've cut out these little pieces of 3/8 inch dowel and I'll just glue them in. So those dowel pins will stop it right where it needs to be. I think you could probably just leave it like that if you want, but I'm gonna put a couple of screws in here just to secure it. I painted these magnets blue and they're a perfect size for little hands. Well, thanks for watching this week. I really hope you get involved and make this project. Send us a picture by December 9th. Make sure you look in the description for all of the details. We're hoping to raise over $10,000 this year with your help. I think this will make a great gift project for this Christmas season. And if you don't have any young ones around, consider making one of these and just donating it to a local children's hospital. They'd love it. And don't forget, I'm auctioning off this easel, so I hope you bid on it and I hope you win because it's really a win-win for everyone. Please share this video everywhere you can. I'd like to see as many people as possible make this. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next Friday.